Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're stepping back in time to one single, ordinary day in 1935. And by taking a close look at the life of one family, we're going to uncover something pretty extraordinary about hope, resilience, and what it really means to be rich when money is tight. This sentence right here, this is basically our North Star for today. It comes from the story of the Carringer family, and it's the theme we're going to see play out over and over again, from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed. So this isn't just history, it's really a lesson in perspective. So let's set the scene. We're in San Diego, 1935. We are at the absolute peak of the Great Depression. But this isn't the Dust Bowl story you might be picturing. San Diego had a sort of secret weapon against the worst of it, a huge Navy presence. And that pumped steady stream of cash into the local economy, keeping things way more stable than in a lot of other American cities. And this is where we meet our guides for the day, the Carringer family. You've got Lyle and Emily, their 15-year-old daughter Betty, and her grandma Georgia. By basically being a fly on the wall for 24 hours in their home, we get this incredible ground-level view of how a family with a steady but smaller income got by during one of the toughest times in American history. Okay, so our story begins where every day begins, in the morning. And right away, right from the get-go, we see how the pressure of the Depression shapes every little decision they make. I mean, from what's on the breakfast table to how they get to work, these tiny choices really add up. Let's talk numbers for a second. Lyle Carringer, he's worked at Marston's department store for 30 years. He earns $1,475 a year. Now, his salary had actually been cut because of the Depression, but the simple fact that he even had a steady job made him one of the really fortunate ones. That income was the foundation for his family's entire world. And to put that number into perspective, check this out. The median family income across the entire country at the time was just $1,160. So, the Carringers, they were solidly middle income. They weren't rich, not by a long shot, but they were a world away from the poverty so many other folks were facing. They had just enough to get by. So what does just enough look like on the breakfast table? Well, it looks like this: 29 cents for a dozen eggs. Now to us, that sounds like nothing, right? But to them, that price tag meant eggs were a weekend-only kind of treat. During the week, breakfast was oatmeal and homemade bread, because flour was just way cheaper. Every single penny had a job to do. It's a perfect little snapshot of the math they did every day just to survive. So, after breakfast, the family splits up. Each of them heads out into their own world for the day, but they all carry that same awareness, that same background hum of the times they were living in. This timeline just paints such a clear picture of routine and discipline. Lyle and Betty both catch the streetcar, that's 5 cents. At noon, Lyle eats a lunch he brought from home, and so does Betty. Why? Because a hot meal at the school cafeteria would have cost 15 cents, and that was a luxury they just couldn't swing. It's a quiet day, a structured day, all built around being frugal. And this right here is such a powerful contrast. Inside their little world on Fern Street, you've got a steady job, you've got food growing in your own backyard, but you step outside that bubble, it's a different story. So many people were relying on government programs like the WPA for work, there were soup kitchens downtown, and just a really tragic detail: San Diego, even with all its sunshine, had earned this grim reputation as the suicide capital of the country. The Carringers' stability was a fragile, precious thing, and you better believe they knew it. Which brings us to the heart of the Carringer home, and in a lot of ways, the heart of this entire story: their garden. And this wasn't just some patch of dirt for growing vegetables. Oh no, it was much, much more than that. See, here's the thing. The garden was their statement of hope. In a world where so much was scarce, they created their own little pocket of abundance. It fed them, for sure, but it also became their main spot for entertaining, their outdoor living room. It was a source of pride and a symbol to the whole neighborhood that you could still make something beautiful, even when times were tough. And this is just a genius example of their resourcefulness. A single 25-cent chicken isn't just one meal, it's 3. Nothing, and I mean nothing, went to waste. The first night, it's a big dinner of chicken and dumplings. The next day, the leftovers get packed into Lyle's lunch. And finally, the bones are boiled down to make a soup. That is the make-do mindset in action. So, as the day winds down, the family all comes back together. And the evening is really where we see their true wealth on display. And believe me, it has absolutely nothing to do with the money in Lyle's paycheck. Just picture the scene. It's simple, it's calm, and they're connected. They're eating green beans they grew themselves, they're talking about their day, school, work, what's happening in the garden. Maybe they listen to a comedy show on their Zenith radio. Betty's doing homework, her grandma is knitting, her mom is mending clothes to make them last just a little bit longer. It's this quiet rhythm that gave them so much comfort in a really insecure world. So as we wrap up our day with the Carringers, what's the big takeaway? What can this one family from one day in 1935 actually teach us? You know, Betty's grandmother, Georgia, says this to her while they're out working in the garden. And honestly, I don't think there could be a more perfect summary. This is the lesson. Hardship has this crazy way of making it crystal clear what's actually important. And that leaves us with this final, really powerful image. Lyle, standing there in the garden he built with his own hands, looking at his family safe inside their home, he doesn't feel the pinch of his smaller salary. In that moment, he feels rich. He has his job, his home, and his family. They are weathering the storm, and they're doing it together. In 1935, that was absolutely everything. And that brings us right to our final thought. The Carringers lived through a time of huge national uncertainty, and they found their answers in their garden, around their dinner table, and in each other. And it kind of leaves us with a question for our own lives, doesn't it? When things feel uncertain, what becomes your measure of wealth?